3872323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. We're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and plenty to get to over the next 2 hours. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Got Doug Thompson coming up in hour number 2 talking some baseball. Got John Hendricks talking Saints. Saints Charity Golf Tournament is taking place today, and John's been out there talking with Mickey Loomis, talking with Dennis Allen, seeing probably some pretty poor golf shots being hit. But we'll chat a little Saints in the second hour with John Hendricks. But we got to start, obviously, with baseball because LSU got the sweep they absolutely, positively had to have over the weekend, and they put themselves firmly in the discussion for the NCAA tournament. I'm going to save all of that discussion for the next segment. We'll talk about where LSU sits, what their metrics are, who they're competing with, what some of the experts think, all that coming up in the next segment. I do want to talk about these 3 games first. Obviously, Game 2 was going on during our show on Friday, so I didn't talk a lot about Game 1. I certainly didn't talk much about Game 2, so I haven't really gone into my thoughts on this weekend that LSU put together. It was a monster one for LSU and a total nightmare for Ole Miss. I thought the way that Jay Johnson managed on Thursday was perfectly appropriate. You had your ace out there. He did a very good job through 6 innings of work. You had a lead, and at that point, you go to Christian Little. It's 5-1. Got a 4-run lead. I think that's not time to mess around and get cute and try to steal some outs here or there. You go to your guy that's been your best setup guy outside of Herring, who I would call your best closer. And Christian Little got 3 strikeouts, was excellent there in the 7th inning. And then you went to Nate Ackenhausen. I'm not saving him for Game 3. I'm not saving him for someplace down the road. I got some tough left-handed hitters coming up in this Ole Miss lineup. I'm going to go to Nate Ackenhausen in that situation. He did allow a walk, but he got through the 8th inning. And then you did have a 4-run lead going to the 9th. And at that point, you're going, okay, I can have Herring warming, but let's try to steal these outs with Gavin Guidry. Again, these are all your best relievers. Your best relievers on this team to this point have been Christian Little, Nate Ackenhausen, Gavin Guidry, and Griffin Herring. And you're trying to steal that one without using Herring, but Guidry walks 2 guys. Boom, not messing around. Herring, you're in. And Griffin Herring comes in. He gets 2 outs in a row, records 2 outs on 10 pitches, and you win the ballgame. Is it ideal to use your best pitchers all in Game 1? No. Does LSU have the luxury of messing around and trying to figure out whether or not they can win without those guys? No. You worry about the rest of the weekend when the rest of the weekend shows up. And they got that win on Thursday night using their best guys. You come back on Friday, and you start Luke Holman in that game, and I thought he was excellent. 9 strikeouts, worked into the 7th inning, only threw 96 pitches in 6 2/3, and guess what? Because you didn't overuse your main guys in Game 1, you were able to go back to Little and back to Herring. Now, those guys haven't pitched a lot on back-to-backs. Herring hadn't done it all year. But you did enough to win that game. I thought the story in that game, LSU offensively really looked good against a tough pitcher in Liam Doyle. Doyle has been Ole Miss's best guy, and he only lasted 4 innings. He gave up 8 hits and 4 runs over the course of those 4 innings. I thought that was a really good job. They didn't do a great job after that with some of the guys in the Ole Miss bullpen, but those were kind of Ole Miss's best bullpen guys there, Mallets, Mendez, and Spencer. And you notice that they went to those guys. Spencer's their closer, and they went to him in the game because they knew they needed to win 2 games this weekend. One wasn't enough. So they were trying, although they were down, to hold LSU down so that they can come back, but LSU's bullpen did the job. And then we know the house of horrors that Game 3s have been for LSU. And he said, we're going to piece this thing together like we have in the past, and we'll see how it works. And they started with Dutton, and he got through the first inning well. We went to Ackenhausen. He didn't have great command, but he did get through 2 clean innings. The slider was pretty good. Ulloa, I thought, was good. Lohr got hit a little bit. Thatcher Hurd did struggle with his command at times. Anderson hit the one guy he faced, and then Guidry came in and closed the deal down. But because you had been propped up by your offense, getting 12 hits and 9 runs against the back end of Ole Miss's staff, that was enough to get it done. LSU had been waiting all spring for the offense to show up in a Game 3. And again, we've been through all these names of the guys that LSU has seen in Game 3s, and it has been an atypical year in that sense from the talent level LSU has seen in Game 3s. Durangelo Sainja, Carter Holton, Jack Caglione, Ben Hess. Like, those are dudes from a stuff perspective. That's going to be a lot of money in signing bonuses when this thing is said and done. But still, you've got to swing the bats on Sundays. And LSU just has not done that to help out a pitching staff that's trying to figure things out on Sundays. They did over the weekend. And Tommy White led that charge in a massive, massive way. It was just one of those ridiculous weekends that great players have. And when you're the opposition, you are thinking that's the guy I got to make sure doesn't beat me. But he did to Ole Miss. And it wasn't just like one day. It was a 3-day onslaught from Tommy White. Absolutely ridiculous. 8 for 13, 3 home runs, a triple his first career, 2 doubles. He had 6 extra base hits in this series. Ole Miss did not have 6 extra base hits in the series. He was sizzling hot, and Ole Miss never really adjusted to pitching away from him. Because Jared Jones wasn't exactly in fuego, but they just kept pitching to Tommy White, and he kept hitting homers. We got word in the press box that Tommy White became just the 7th player in college baseball history to hit 20 home runs 3 consecutive years. I went back and looked. Brad Cressy did not do that. Eddie Furness did not do that. He climbed into the top 10 in career home runs. We know he set the national record. That's a good place to start with 27 as a freshman. Last year had another monster year. And this year, even though no Dylan Cruz, no Cade Beloso, no Trey Morgan, no Gavin Dugas, the top of that order has changed a ton. And maybe it took a little bit of time for him to react to that because he got off to a pretty slow start. But in the end, as the cliche goes, like, the numbers will be the numbers. Doesn't really matter how you get there. It's gonna happen. And it happened for Tommy White. He was incredible over the weekend. And so I think that LSU right now unequivocally is playing better baseball than they were early in the year. That goes without saying. The schedule lightened up, and those two things can both be true. The schedule can lighten up, and LSU can play better. But I think the key here is that Holman and Jump have become a really formidable duo at the front of LSU's rotation. I went back and looked over the last 5 weeks and actually got off to a bumpy start because Holman wasn't great at Missouri. He gave up 5 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. But I included that start into all these numbers I'm going to give you. But Holman and Jump together over the last 5 weekends of SEC play have gone 59 2/3 innings, so about 60 innings, 20 earned runs on 43 hits, 73 strikeouts, and 18 walks. Their ERA combined over 5 weekends of SEC play is 3.01. Over that time, Jump has kind of turned into an ace. He's gone 31 innings, 8 earned runs, which is an ERA of 2.32. In those 31 innings, 23 hits, 39 strikeouts to 4 walks. He's dominating in the strike zone. I mean, you look at some of these outings, 7 innings, 1 earned run against Missouri, 7 innings of shutout baseball against Auburn, 6 innings, 1 run against Ole Miss. No, those aren't the best teams in the conference, far from it. In fact, they're probably the 3 worst, the worst offenses in the league. But he dominated them. And he kept LSU right in games against Texas A&M and Alabama. In those 2 starts, he goes 11 innings, allows 6 earned runs, had 11 strikeouts and 1 walk. He's really good. And these two guys give LSU a chance. They make LSU a threat. And that's what we thought when we started this thing in February. My contention and what I told you based on conversations that I had with people inside that program is that Jump was probably the best pitcher on the staff and that they really liked the way that Luke Holman was throwing the ball. We played the sound before the season ever started of Wake Forest coach Tom Walter saying he thought Holman might be the best pitcher in the country. And I would suggest, he's probably not the best pitcher in the country. Jay Johnson said he would take Gage Jump over anybody right now. I might tab Hagen Smith over him. Tongue-in-cheek there. I would definitely take Hagen Smith, who throws 100. But those two guys are giving LSU a very good chance. And over the last 5 weeks, LSU is 8-2 against the Southeastern Conference when they pitch. LSU's got some flaws. The bullpen is a little shaky. Offensively, at times they've struggled a little bit. This weekend, they were able to plate 5 runs with 2 outs. Hayden Travinski might have woken up out of what was a 2-for-21 slump. Maybe they found a leadoff hitter in Michael Braswell. He did a really nice job over the weekend. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 hits and drew a walk. So he was on base 5 times. We're trying to find somebody to get on base there. Maybe Braswell's the guy. It's not a perfect team. I don't feel like I did last year in any sense, really. But they've put themselves in position to be right there in the conversation, and a case can be made that they're a difficult matchup in a regional weekend or a super regional weekend. The question is, are they going to get to a regional weekend? Or are they going to get to a super regional weekend? I'll give you some of the thoughts that the national writers have. I'll give you some of my thoughts. I'll give you some of the actual data. And we'll talk about what this week needs to look like from LSU. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Pluckers. Get them by Pluckers if you want to watch some LSU baseball this week. Well, not at 9:30 in the morning, but starting at 11, you certainly can. You can get them by the 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. We come back, Bubble Talk on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about the sportsbook at LeBear's. You can visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. They got the biggest screens. They got the best food and drinks. Plus, they're giving away Penn Cash bonuses and prizes to Penn Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, no big deal. You can join today by downloading and registering for the Penn Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn Cash. All this and more make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Tannegrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City, and we'll be right alongside LSU and Georgia in the first round of the SEC tournament. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Shout out to Trey Beal and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. Check them out at gcopnet.com. All your printing needs, scanner needs, copier needs, Gulf Coast Office Products has you covered anywhere in the great state of Louisiana. Check them out online, gcopnet.com. All right, let's talk some bubble stuff because that's where LSU finds itself very, very squarely. And there are a couple different ways to look at this. The first way to do it is with the teams in the SEC, and that's what I've been focusing on because that has the fewest variables. Once we start talking about Central Florida and Northeastern and Utah and Cincinnati and Maryland and James Madison, Virginia Tech and Ole Miss and Xavier, like that's a lot to handle. But if you can boil it down to just the SEC teams, it becomes a little bit easier to digest on the front end here. So we'll start with that. I was looking at the scoreboards as LSU was handling their business against Ole Miss on Saturday, and I was just rolling my eyes like, can you just get help from anywhere? And they could not get help from anywhere. And you were counting on some of the better teams in the league to help you out. You were counting on Georgia to win a game against Florida. They couldn't do it. You were counting on Kentucky to finish off a sweep, and they couldn't do it. So as you sit here, you're all very well aware that 5 teams finished 13 and 17 in league play. And based on the stone cold metrics, the data that's available, it's very difficult to rank LSU anywhere other than 5th in that pecking order. LSU has the worst strength of schedule. It's 21, Bama's 5, South Carolina's 7, Florida's 1, Vanderbilt's 16. You have the worst strength of schedule. You have the worst RPI. You're at 30. Bama's 18, South Carolina's 19, Florida's 24, Vanderbilt's 27. So you have the worst. You have the fewest quad 1 wins, 7 and 13. You have 7 wins. Bama has 13, South Carolina has 9, Florida has 13, Vandy has 10. So you're the only one in single digits there. And you didn't beat any of these teams head up. You lost 2 out of 3 at Bama. You lost 2 out of 3 at home to Florida and Vanderbilt. So when I take LSU with Bama, South Carolina, Florida, and Vandy, and I look at the numbers, they're the worst. However, I was listening to the D1 baseball guys, Mark Etheridge, Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, who have their Nerdcast out on YouTube and wherever you find your podcasts right now, and they feel differently. They put a lot of weight on how LSU finished relative to how the other teams finished. Vanderbilt finished with a dud. Like, they have not played well for a month, really. And as you sit here, yeah, their RPI is good. Yeah, their strength of schedule is good. Yes, they came to the box and beat you, but they lost 2 out of 3 to Kentucky. They lost 2 out of 3 to Tennessee. They got swept by Georgia. They lost 2 out of 3 to Mississippi State. They have not won a series since April 20th when they beat Florida. But 4 in a row they've dropped. And South Carolina has lost 6 games in a row. Been swept the last 2 weekends. They went from hosting to bubblicious in a hurry. And because of that, the D1 baseball guys said Bama's got the best resume. They beat Arkansas in a series. They beat Tennessee in a series. They're the top of this food chain. Then they said Florida comes next based on number 1 strength of schedule and some really good series wins. They beat Texas A&M, beat Georgia. So they had LSU third there. We'll see what the committee prioritizes. I don't know. But it looked like a frustrating weekend from LSU's perspective within the Southeastern Conference. Where you did get some help was the bubble. And that is a place where the numbers start to get confusing, and I realize you don't have all this in front of you, so I'll be as pretty simple as I can with it. Like D1 baseball last week, their last 4 in were UCF, Northeastern, Utah, and Cincinnati. Well, Utah got swept by Southern Cal, dropped 9 spots in the RPI. They're toast. The first 4 out in this group, Maryland, James Madison, Virginia Tech, and Ole Miss, 3 of them got swept. Maryland got swept by Penn State. They didn't even qualify for the Big Ten tournament. They're out. Virginia Tech got swept by Virginia. They lost their last 6 AC series. They're out. And you swept Ole Miss. They're out. So of this bubble of 8 teams, 4 of them got swept and are gone. And the rest of them, I like LSU's metrics against all of them. They've got a better RPI than all of them. They've got more quad 1 wins than all of them. And they're playing well. So D1 Baseball took a look at this, and they put their new field together, and they have LSU in. And they have LSU in not even on the bubble. The last 4 in are Coastal Carolina, Troy, Vanderbilt, and UNC Wilmington. First 4 out, Cincinnati, Louisville, Cal, and Xavier. Xavier lost 2 out of 3 to Villanova over the weekend. The problem with this, as you looked at it as a whole, is you would look at that and go, oh, well, LSU is not even in the last 4 in. They got like 5, 6, 7 wiggle spots to use. And that may be true. But the fact is that when D1 Baseball does these projections, they allow for every conference leader to get that automatic bid. And if San Diego gets beat in the Big West tournament, they're going to get in. If Illinois gets beat in the Big Ten tournament, they're going to get in. And there are a few others like that, and that's not allotted for because it would be too difficult to try to forecast a conference tournament champion in baseball. You really need some of these teams that have won their leagues and have earned an at-large to get in. But in the D1 metrics, they allow for all 11 SEC teams to get into the field. And that's the interesting point. And I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again today. I am not going to shed a tear or come on here and rant and rave and scream if LSU gets left out of this field. You are Louisiana State University. You are the biggest brand in that sport. You have an NIL budget. You're coming off a national championship. You've got every asset that you could possibly have to put together a championship-level baseball program, and you obviously produced that last year. You go 13-17 in conference games, you get what you get. I fully believe that LSU is playing well enough to get into the tournament and make some noise. I fully believe that LSU has a better baseball team than Northeastern or Central Florida or Cincinnati or James Madison. I do. I believe that. But you can't go up to Knoxville and Fayetteville and throw up a double bagel. You cannot get swept twice. You need to finish those games in Tuscaloosa. You got Auburn at your place. You need to win all 3 of those. So I'm not going to shed a tear if they don't get in, but it appears to me like they are a better than 50-50 shot to get in. Certainly tomorrow, if you win that game, 1, you add a quad 1 win, you get an RPI bump, and you add a win against the league team. 2, you create an opportunity for Gage Jump and Luke Holman to pitch the next 2 days. And I feel like it's not talking out of school to say that LSU's got a pretty good chance to win one game when those two guys pitch. I just mentioned that they're 8-2 in those guys' last 10 starts. Then all of a sudden you win 2 games, turn out the lights, you're fine. But if you lose and some of these bids get stolen, you're at the mercy of the committee, and I think it's a long week. I don't think it's a must-win. I don't think that. It could be. I don't think that. But I feel like LSU is in a pretty good spot at this point. If you talk about LSU relative to the other teams in the SEC that are trying to get in, it can get a little bumpy. If you're talking about them compared to the teams on the bubble that I've got on this sheet of paper right now, it's hard for me to favor Northeastern and James Madison. It is. But then you get into the discussion of, and I've heard this a lot, and I'll kind of wrap things up with this. This is something I've heard a lot. Well, they're the defending national champs. They'll let them in. They're LSU. They'll let them in. Like that line of thinking. And to me, I kind of look at it the other way because I know that's what happened in 2011. Now, that was 13 years ago, but St. John's got in and LSU didn't 2 years off a national championship. And I think it was a grow the game move. I can hear somebody in the committee thinking in his head, well, LSU's going to sell 10,000 tickets a game no matter what next year if we let them in or let them out. Doesn't matter. But maybe this is a real shot in the arm for Northeastern's program. Maybe this is good for the game if we let Cincinnati in. I can see that happening. I don't subscribe to, hey, they're the biggest brand. They sell the most tickets. They get the most eyeballs. They send the most people to Omaha. Yeah, let's put them in. I see it kind of the other way. This is a sport that is fighting desperately to stay from being completely regionalized. And I'm telling you, it is regionalized. I keep looking at these SEC rosters, and I see Thatcher Hurd and Gage Jump and Jacob Berry. I see Braden Montgomery at Texas A&M. I see Luke Hill, who was playing shortstop for Ole Miss this weekend, is the only hitter they've got over 300 in league play, who was Arizona State shortstop last year. I see Hurston Waldrop leaving as the ace for Southern Miss, a top 8 national seed, to go pitch for Florida. I see Tommy White leaving the ACC to come play in the SEC. Like, the SEC is kind of taking things over. And if you just cater to them time and time and time again, what's the incentive for anybody else outside the bubble to try? You've already lost the Pac-12. It's gone. UCLA is atrocious this year. Oregon State's the biggest brand out there currently, and they don't even have a conference to play in. Stanford's best player plays in the SEC. Like, I can see the committee trying to fight that off and saying, the SEC is going to be fine. Everybody will care about them next year too. Let's give somebody else a shot. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying there's a human element to this thing that you cannot rule out. There are so many variables here between the results on the field this week, how the committee weighs what metric, the KPI versus the RPI, strength of schedule, human nature. Like, there's so many things at play. It's fascinating. It's great for us to sit here and talk about it. But I can't sit here with complete confidence and suggest, well, LSU's a monster brand, defending national champs. They're going to get the benefit of the doubt here. I can see it the other way. You can remove the doubt if you go out there and win 2 baseball games. Beat Georgia, split the Jump and Holman starts, show up on Thursday and Friday and see, what happens. It's a really, really fun week in Hoover. I love 9:30 a.m. baseball. But it's a big one tomorrow for LSU, and it's a big one for Georgia as they get ready to try to be a top 8 national seed where they're kind of on the outside looking in potentially right now. So we'll talk a little bit about it in hour number 2. All right, come back with us. I want to talk about the entire SEC and kind of where things stand. Some looking at a top 8 national seed, some like Ole Miss, maybe looking at a new coach. We'll talk about it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping the final weekend of SEC baseball play and getting you set for LSU's Game 1 in Hoover. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
I don't think there's any doubt whether there's no doubt we're one of the top 10 to 15 teams in college baseball. It's like that is not even debatable. If we lost today, you could start peeling it back and finding a reason and give the committee an excuse to not put us in. There's no excuse now. Like this is one of the best teams in the country.
Strong words from the head man, Jay Johnson. I could probably argue whether or not you're a top 10 team in the country, but we won't. We'll leave it as it is. He's saying what he needs to say to stand firm with that committee. I think LSU, with Gage Jump and Luke Holman throwing the baseball the way they are, with Tommy White and Jared Jones in that lineup, with the way that Griffin Herring can finish games, is a dangerous team. I think they're a threat in a regional. I think they would be a threat in a super regional. When you start talk about having to win as much as you do to win a national championship, I think the conversation gets a little cloudy there. But as far as over the course of 72 hours, like, they could be a handful. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. I want to talk a little bit about the SEC teams and where they stand now. We'll have this complete discussion next week after the field is set. But what do we talk about all the time? It's that those 30 games that you play in the league are weighted so heavily in your 56-game body of work that you can basically determine a team's fate strictly based on those 30 games. It's why I don't get super worked up on Tuesday nights. It's why I don't lose a lot of sleep when you lose game 3 of a weekend in February. Those 30 games are just paramount in importance. And let's look at the teams in the SEC. We always say 13 gives you a chance, 14 gets you in the NCAA tournament. You get to 17, you're probably a host. You get to 20, you're a lock for a national seed. Sometimes the scale slides back a little bit. We've seen Florida host at 15 and 15. You don't have to win 20 games to be a national seed. LSU won 19 last year. Now, they didn't play one in South Carolina because of weather, but they only won 19. But those are the metrics that lock you in. 14 is locking you in the NCAA tournament 14 is locking you in. 17 is locking you in as a host. 20 is locking you in to host a super. So let's look at the SEC. Kentucky won it with 22. They're obviously going to be a national seed, likely to be the number 1 seed. It's them or Tennessee. Tennessee won 22 as well. They're going to be the 1 or 2 seed. Then you move down and you get Arkansas, who won 20 games. They will be a top 8 national seed. Their RPI is 2. Texas A&M won 19 games. I believe they're going to be a top 8 national seed. They've got 14 quad 1 wins. That's second only to Kentucky. They're the number 1 RPI team. They got the number 1 non-conference RPI. I think they're a national seed. So right there at 19, you get the picture. And then it gets a little fuzzier when you get to Georgia. Georgia went 17 and 13. They're the 6 RPI, but they're going to have to do some work to lock in that top 8 national seed. You've got North Carolina in front of you. You've got Clemson right there. You've got Florida State. I think UC Santa Barbara may have a case. They won 23 league games. I wouldn't put them in, but the committee, I think, will look at it. So Georgia didn't quite get to that threshold. They're a host, but we'll see what they can do in Hoover. Now, you start then to talk about the team. Well, Mississippi State would be next. I missed them because they've got RPI problems. They're down at 22 in the RPI. But they won 17 games. Now, I generally suggest that 17 is going to lock you in as a host. We'll see. Their RPI is 22. They're right on the edge. And D1 Baseball Today put them just out. So that could be a situation where we don't know. But the fascinating thing here is while LSU and Florida used exact opposite routes, they wound up in the same place. And this is the crux of my discussion when we talk about non-conference stuff. Florida was an unmitigated disaster in the non-conference. They lost every game they played against Florida State in the midweek. They got crushed by Stetson. They lost to Central Florida. They were terrible in the non-conference week after week after week. LSU, on the other hand, dominated. Went to Houston, was great. Only slipped up in the midweek in that stupid game on a Monday against Southern. But they were incredible. And how does it boil down? Well, LSU and Florida are right in the same boat. Why? Because they went 13 and 17 in the league. LSU is 36-20. They're 16 games above 500. Florida is 2. They're 28-26. But Florida's RPI is better than LSU's. And they're right in the same place in terms of the selection committee, because those 30 games where LSU and Florida produce the exact same result are not 100% all that matters, but almost all that matters. I mean, that is the proof in the pudding. Like, LSU, clean as could be out of conference. Florida's a disaster. Well, how'd they do in the 30 league games? They were the same. They're in the same spot. Now, Florida could have created a problem for themselves if they'd have lost game 3 against Georgia, because they'd be exactly at 500 and probably would be in trouble in Hoover, because if they lost 2 games after winning 1 or just lost on Tuesday, they would be ineligible. So you got to fight against that. But in terms of your resume, these 2 resumes are like exactly the same, and they're completely different. Everything comes down to those conference games. And that's the proof of it. Like, Vanderbilt has had their issues in the non-conference at times, but 13-17. So they're right between LSU and Florida exactly. LSU's 30 in the RPI, Florida's 23. Vanderbilt slides right in the middle at 27. It just jumbles up. So right now as we sit here, I think that the SEC is going to get them all in. But whoever loses tomorrow needs to be nervous, especially, I would suggest, LSU, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina. I think Alabama's fine. I think Florida's in good shape because they got the number 1 strength of schedule. But those other 3, it's going to be a long week if you don't get there. Speaking of long weeks, Ole Miss hopes it's a long week, because if not, then their season's over. They laid an egg here in Baton Rouge, getting swept. They finished with 11 league wins and will not be able to get an at-large berth in the tournament. They must win the entire SEC tournament to get in. And that's going to prompt a discussion in Oxford as to what is the state of this program. Because the national championship team went 14-16. Last year's team was 6-24. And this year went 11-19. That is 17-43 in league play. 17-43 since winning a national championship with a team that was under 500. Now, I want to say this, because it's kind of been my thought that, like, Ole Miss wasn't that good 3 years ago, 2 years ago. They just got hot for 3 weeks. And in a vacuum, that could be true. But the fact is, they had some All-Americans. They found pitching late in the year they weren't using early. And they lost a lot of close games the first 15 league games. They lost a lot of really close games. They were not getting run-ruled like LSU was this year. And Gonzalez just got promoted to AA, and he's a star. And Elko was a legend there, hitting over 20 home runs. And, like, that team had dudes on it. But it's a big sample size you're looking at here of a baseball program that is simply not at the level it's supposed to be. And Mike Bianco started at Ole Miss when Ole Miss baseball was nothing. And he brought it literally to the top of the mountain and did a marvelous job, in my estimation, of a lot of that time between. Yeah, they had bad games in Game 3 of Supers. Ole Miss ain't here again. You've seen that a ton. But they got the monkey off their back. They beat ULL in a Super to get there once, and then they got there a second time and cashed it in for a national championship. They've got to make a decision now on Mike Bianco, and it's expensive. Chase Parham of Rebel Grove estimates that buyout is going to be north of $7.5 million to be paid over 4 years. So it's basically like paying one coach not to coach and one coach to coach. It's a lot of money over 4 years. And you've got donors who are anteing up in a big way for football transfers. They've got a proposed revitalization of Swayze Field for $40 million. And oh, by the way, you're going to pay Mike Bianco $7 million to go away. It's a lot of money. And I'm just really fascinated by what their athletic director, Keith Carter, decides to do. Because The sample size is now big enough that Ole Miss's baseball program is in big trouble. And it doesn't sound like, based on the roster that they have and the guys coming back, that it's going to be a whole heck of a lot different next year. There's just not a lot of talent on that Ole Miss team. So what does Ole Miss decide to do with Mike Bianco? I'm fascinated to see, because that should be one of the proudest jobs in the country. And right now, they've been reduced to a team that hasn't qualified for Hoover, where 12 of 14 get in 2 years in a row. Sorry, they did. They qualified this year. Auburn and Missouri did. But they were close. It's decision time in Oxford. That's going to be a fascinating deal. All right, we'll take a timeout, come back and close out hour number 1 coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR. Mitchell Fisher and his team are awesome. Whether it's whole home audio, TV installation, video surveillance, they can handle it all. And as I told you a couple of weeks ago, new trick of the trade that AVSS has brought in, they can do golf simulators now. So if you're a golfer, it's getting hot out there, you don't want to spend a lot of time hitting balls in the driving range, but you've got room in your home for a golf simulator, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you out with that. They know how to install it, TrackMan situation, the screen, all that can be done through the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online. It's avssla.com, or give Mitchell Fisher a call. This is his cell phone number. He's the owner of the company. Anywhere in the Baton Rouge area, he can service your needs. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. That's Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number. He's the owner of Audio Video Security Solutions. You can check him out online at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals.
But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents.
Charles Hannegriff joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City, and we'll be right alongside LSU and Georgia in the first round of the SEC tournament. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Just saw that Delta opened up a nonstop flight from Baton Rouge to Vegas for the game. It's $1,700. That's a pricey trip from Baton Rouge to Las Vegas there. I'll pass.
I don't think it's going to be worth it instead of just driving to New Orleans.
Yeah, I would suggest that's probably a reasonable idea. What do you think of the PGA Championship, Beck? Xander Schauffele won his first major.
I was completely shocked. Okay, not only did he win, he also went wire to wire. But that's not too surprising considering he's had the lead in many majors before. But he's been one of the best. He's been one of the best performers in majors for the last four or 5 years, I think.
Yeah, yes. I mean, Rinsed won at Augusta when he had a chance on 16, and he's been in the mix.
He was in the lead at the Open Championship that gave that one up to Francesco Molinari, 2018, I think. But yeah, he's got to be considered. He was always considered the best guy to not have a major. Well, now he's got one. So
that putt never looked like it was going in until it was in the hole.
It went around.
It looked like it was low the whole time, and then it went in.
Yeah.
So this was the lowest scoring PGA Championship ever. Have you seen the stat?
I did see the stat. Yeah, it's like I think the total score was
this round was the total for all the players was 214 under par.
Yeah.
The second easiest was at Riviera in 1995. They were 40 over. Mm-hmm. So by 254 shots, this was the easiest PGA Championship ever. Is that a problem?
I think it is, especially considering we've just seen that even with a course as long as Valhalla was, which I think was at 7,600, also the problem I think too was that it wasn't necessarily the course's fault entirely because we had a lot of rain. So the greens were really soft, and these guys were just throwing darts everywhere, and the greens weren't very fast, so they could make a lot of putts. So, but I do think that I don't think anyone wants to see that happen every year in a PGA Championship where the overall score is that low. You want the majors to be a test at least a little bit more difficult than a normal PGA event.
When you let these guys, for lack of a better term, play the ball in the air for all 18 holes, like they're going to light it up. The difficulty arises when the ball gets on the ground, whether it's rolling in really firm fairways into trouble or really firm greens or shaved areas around the greens where the ball runs off and you create little awkward chip shots as opposed to the ball just trickles into the rough and you pop it out. Like, rough sounds great in principle, but they've cracked this code. They can hit it. They all fly at 315, and that means they all have 7 or 8 irons. And they can handle that. And when the golf course gets soft, and they can just fly it way up in the air and land it in the fairway at 315, it stops. And then they can hit a 6 iron, and they hit it on the green, it stops. Like, you're never gonna challenge them. You could move it back to 7,800 yards, and they would still shoot 20 under par.
I think the biggest problem that the PGA of America faces, and not only them, but also even. I don't think the U.S. Open so much, but even the British Open. So I think the biggest problem is that now you've reached a point where you have to have a course that can support the infrastructure for a tournament this big.
Yep.
Which I think is the biggest problem. There's probably 100 golf courses that would be perfectly good, really unique, awesome courses to play a major at, but they just wouldn't be able to support the infrastructure for that. That's the biggest problem. So I don't know how you can fix that.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the great courses in the country are just kind of becoming obsolete. I mean, they go to Pebble and just light it up. It's the most iconic course that we have in the public here in America, and it's like they can just destroy it unless you take the rough and grow the fairways to nothing.
And if there's wind.
And then if the wind blows like that, and that's just not something that you can predict. So there were a lot of folks that were in the golf media that were anti Valhalla, and they're anti-Quail Hollow for next year, and there's reasons for that. But
it was still high drama. I mean,
it
came down to one stroke, a birdie putt. Yeah. So even though it wasn't super,
and you had great names on the leaderboard: Shoffley, Morikawa, DeChambeau. I was playing golf, full disclosure. I was playing at University Club, walked into the bar after, and I saw a picture of Xander's hands in the air, and I knew that he and Bryson were neck and neck down the stretch, and I was obviously pulling very hard for Xander. Got to get the lid guys out. But I liked the quote that Bryson said after Saturday's round, where he chipped in for eagle, and he had the huge fist bump. He said, "Yeah, I haven't felt like that in a long time." Well, no joke, because you're playing for Team Smash in Abu Dhabi or wherever, and no one cares. So, it's just, it stands to reason why no one, why you haven't felt like that in a long time. So, could be playing against the best players in the world every week, but evidently we've chosen we don't want to do that. So, all right, that's it for hour number 1 here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week is off to a good start. If you missed any of it, a lot of baseball talk in hour number 1. You can catch it all on demand. Guests in hour number 2, we're going to pause for Sports Center. Anthony Dasher covering Georgia. Then we'll have Doug Thompson talking Tigers and John Hendricks on the Saints. Plenty to get to in hour 2. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA's conference finals tip off tomorrow night with Game 1 in the East between the Celtics and Pacers in Boston. ESPN's Shannon Sharpe says the time is now for the Celtics.
At some point in time, you got to kick the door in and go inside. And there are no excuses. I don't want to hear nothing. If they do not win the championship this year, it is a failure of epic proportion.
Shannon Sharpe on First Take. The Western Conference Finals start Wednesday night with the Timberwolves hosting the Mavericks. Every NBA playoff game the rest of the way is right here on ESPN Radio. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Oilers and Canucks play Game 7 in Vancouver tonight. Canucks winger Brock Besser not expected to play with a blood clotting issue. Coverage at 9 Eastern on ESPN. Our TJ Quinn reports MLB is starting an investigation into allegations that former Angels infielder David Fletcher gambled with the same illegal bookie as Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter Ippei Mitsuhara.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America, Close Shave Barbasol.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hope your work week is off to a good start. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Talking a lot of baseball today. Tigers sweep Ole Miss. They head to the SEC tournament. They'll start things tomorrow at 9:30 Central Time. The opponent will be the Georgia Bulldogs. Anthony Dasher covers Georgia for the Rivals Network. He's on the way to Hoover right now and joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Anthony, thanks so much for your time. How are you?
Hey, doing great.
All right, well, I guess where should we start? They got this Condon guy, I'm told, that's pretty good. How's watching Charlie Condon been the last 4 months?
It's been a lot of fun. If you're a baseball fan like I am, you don't see guys like this come around, very often, do the type of things he has. I know it's, probably very similar to what LSU fans were used to seeing with Dylan and Tommy, last year. But Charlie's just been phenomenal. 35 home runs. I think he struck out 37, 38 times, all season long. It's just been a tremendous year. And Wes Johnson just a long time ago has now run out of words to try to describe what he's seen from him this season.
Does it baffle you that teams continue to pitch to him?
I'm surprised. Actually, surprised people pitch to him as much as they do. We're starting to see a little bit more of teams not taking any chances. For example, a runner at first base, you see teams put him on. We saw that against Vanderbilt. We saw that, the week after that against South Carolina, as well. So, teams are, done a lot of different things against Charlie. Texas A&M actually played 4 outfielders against him, but Charlie hit a home run, so it didn't look good there.
Yeah, 4 outfielders doesn't help a lot if it goes over the fence.
Yeah, exactly.
But Charlie Condon, not the only great hitter in this Georgia lineup. It's one of the best lineups in all of college baseball. Who's number 2, number 3, number 4 in this lineup that you got to worry about if you're LSU?
Well, for LSU, I think it starts at the top of the order. Corey Collins, not your prototypical, leadoff hitter, first baseman DH, 6'3", about 230 pounds. Not a speed demon, but he knows how to get on base. In fact, his on base percentage is actually higher than Charlie's. Right now, ton of walks. Have been hit by pitches 25 times this year, kind of like Don Baylor back in the days with the Angels. This guy knows how to get on base. He got 18 homers. He's a very, very clutch hitter. Takes very smart at bats. But otherwise, you look at just look up and down. Just line up with a lot of depth. Like freshman Trey Phelps, 370. Slade Alford, transfer from Mississippi State, has 15 home runs. Kobe Branch, who was a freshman All-American last year at Baylor, has 15 home runs. So they've got 5 guys with, I think, 14 home runs right now. 2 other guys have 9 and one has 7. So the lineup with a ton of power, 140 home runs for the year, Georgia record. Just a team that knows how to swing the bat right now.
Obviously, those around here are very familiar with Wes Johnson, the pitching coach last year for the national champs here in Baton Rouge. He's now the first-year head coach at Georgia. He's as highly respected as anybody in the game from a pitching perspective. But what is this staff's identity in year 1 under Wes Johnson?
Well, I think Wes has had the impact that what he's tried to do is come in and get these pitchers to believe. Now, you look at Georgia stats right now; they're not very impressive. Really, only 2 pitchers who are probably pitching up their potential right now are starters Colton Smith and Leighton Finley, and LSU will not be seeing them tomorrow. Bullpen wise, they've had a few issues though with guys not really challenging the strike zone too much, and Wes got a little pissed at him I think in this past game with Florida, and kind of let some of those guys know about it. But he definitely had a big impact. And like I said, he's got these guys believing in themselves, even if they're not go out and don't have a good game. He's still showing that faith in those guys, and I think that's kind of helped him. But if you're LSU, though, you want to get in the bullpen, I think, as quick as possible because they've definitely been inconsistent. That's probably put in nicely.
We're chatting with Anthony Dasher, who covers Georgia for UGAsports.com, part of the Rivals Network. It'll be Tigers and Bulldogs tomorrow morning at 9:30 from the Hoover Met to get the SEC tournament started. So who do you think may be the guy that Georgia goes to in this awkward Tuesday game where your starting pitchers from the weekend may not be ready to go?
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's going to be sophomore left-hander Jarvis Evans. Jarvis actually started one of the games last year against LSU in Athens, 2-4 innings. I think the LSU got, 2 or 3 runs off of him. He's got a very good curveball, a good change, and a fastball. Not all that impressive, 90-91, but he can mix his pitches well. Walks have hurt him. He's got like 28, 29 walks and about 40, 42 innings or so, so far this year. So that would be something to watch. But if he's on, he'd be a good pitcher. But again, just inconsistency, like it's been the case for a lot of Georgia pitchers this year, is what's hurting.
You look at this Georgia team, they're 6th in the RPI, 17 conference wins. How important is this game for Georgia's hopes to get a top 8 national seed, in your opinion?
Oh, very important. I think, after, Luke dropping 2 or 3 last week in the Florida, I think Georgia probably has to, win at least 1 or 2 games to kind of get back into that conversation. I mean, actually, if you want to go by RPI and strength of schedule, you look at that right now, Georgia's 6th in RPI, I think 8th in strength of schedule. Yeah, they probably do deserve. But the thing I, look at though, I'm not sure if the committee is going to allow 5 SEC teams to have a national bid. You know what I mean? The human factor, I think, is going to come to play a little bit unless Georgia can get a couple minutes, kind of force the committee's hand. But I do think they need to win at least 1 or 2 to get back in that conversation.
Feels like LSU and Georgia are both in pretty good shape for what they're looking for, but a win would probably solidify that a big time. So a huge game tomorrow. I want to close with this, Anthony. Is Charlie Connon the best player in the history of Georgia baseball?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was kind of hesitant to say that at first. Good numbers in 2008 was a first-round draft pick. And you go back, in the history of Georgia baseball, there have been some other very good players. But Charlie Connon, what he's done, no doubt. Already the program's career home run leader at 60 in just 2 seasons, hitting 450. I think goes without saying he's probably the best. He's the best player in Georgia history.
We certainly appreciate your time. Safe travels over to Hoover. Enjoy the baseball tomorrow. Thanks, Anthony.
I appreciate it.
He's Anthony Dasher at UGAsports.com covering the Georgia Bulldogs. It's been that story with Charlie Connon is just not one that you really find. I mean, talking about a guy who walked on at Georgia and has become the greatest player in the history of their program. I mean, it's from an LSU perspective, it's not the same in the terms of the numbers that they've put up. But, I mean, Rafe Rhymes did hit 430 as a walk-on, and that's something that you would not have seen coming. And Charlie Connon was good last year, but he's become absolutely insane this year. And I just don't know if I'm Jay Johnson, if I'm going to let him be a difference maker tomorrow. In one game, like over the course of a weekend, you're probably going to get into a spot or two where you probably need to try to make a pitch. But in one game, 4 at-bats, like, I'm probably going to let the guy behind him try to do some work. I mean, I don't know if we've quite reached the point where Barry Bonds level where you're getting walked with the bases loaded, but, like, that's only going to score 1 run instead of 4. And this guy is just absurd at the plate. I mean, his numbers are more than I can even handle. Look for the season. Charlie Condon is hitting .451 with 35 home runs. If you just look at it in conference play, it's not like he's just feasting on the non-conference. He's hitting .412 with 19 homers in conference play. Toss in another 11 doubles. Like, the slugging percentage is .983. The on base is .533 in league games. That's over 1,500 in league games for his OPS. I just don't know if I'm LSU, if I can live with it. If this turns into a win or you're done baseball game, if I'm going to let the best player in the country determine the outcome. I know that they've had some other guys, Paul Totes, Corey Collins, Trey Phillips, Henry Hunter. Like, they've got a lot of guys that have had big seasons, but nothing like that. I couldn't sleep at night all week if Charlie Condon drove in 5 runs tomorrow and I lost by 2. There's no way I could let that happen. We'll see.
It's different, and to me, it's baseball is such a completely different compared to like baseball. Compared to like basketball or football, or if there's one player on that team, there's not, you can't 100% do something.
You can't take the ball away from the quarterback,
exactly,
or the point
or yeah, exactly. But in this case, you can literally not allow him to hit a ball.
Yeah.
So like, why would you not take that chance?
Again, am I going to walk him intentionally 11 times over a weekend?
No, of course not.
That's too many opportunities to score. But 4 at-bats, I think I'm going to give that a real thought. And especially, like, LSU's going to have to score tomorrow no matter what, because both these teams are throwing their bullpens, likely. I don't think Gage Jump is going to pitch tomorrow. Gage Jump this year has thrown more innings than he's thrown at any point in his life. He's coming off Tommy John surgery, and it's his draft year. I don't think they're going to start him on 4 days rest, even though it's a monster game. I think that they're going to go to the bullpen, and it sounds like Anthony thinks that Georgia's going to do the same thing. You're not going to win this game 3-1. I know Hoover plays big. It's not Athens. It's not the box when the wind's blowing out, and so sometimes, it's tough to score there. But Georgia's really good offensively, and their pitching staff's not good, and you're seeing the back end of it. Like, LSU needs to go out there and score 7, 8, 9 runs tomorrow. That's just the way that I see it. We'll just have to see how that all shakes out. If we get pitching announcements here in the next 45 minutes, we'll let you know. I doubt that's going to happen. My guess for LSU, somebody asked me this today, like, who do you think they'll start? I have 2 guesses, Christian Little and Griffin Herring. Those are my guesses. I don't think with all that could be on the line tomorrow that you're going to see Thatcher Hurd or Cade Anderson go. I just don't think I don't think you're going to see Javen Coleman tomorrow. I think they're going to probably go with one of the guys who's been really good, especially at the top end of that Georgia lineup. That's a huge inning. The first inning is a huge inning because Georgia's top of the lineup with Corey Collins and Charlie Condon is so brutal. Like, I'm going to go with one of my dudes and see if we can get into the game. We'll see. I'll ask Doug Thompson who he thinks they should throw. We'll talk with him coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. That hot weather is coming in. You know what that means. Storm season is around the corner. The time to think about a home standby Generac generator is not when the power's already gone out and the storm's blown through. The time to think about it is now. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that when those storms roll through, inevitably, you're not going to lose power because of that Generac generator. Boudreaux's Electric is a premier Generac dealer. It means they're in the top 3% nationwide in terms of Generac sales. You got to give them a call and let them come out and put that home standby generator at your home. It's 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That's my friends over at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping the final weekend of SEC baseball play and getting you set for LSU's Game 1 in Hoover. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Shout out Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com is where you can find them. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal. Best in the business. If you're looking for printers, copiers, scanners, things of that nature, Gulf Coast Office Products is where you need to be. Let's head back out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Doug Thompson, color analyst on the LSU Sports Radio Network and national champion Tiger pitcher, joins us. Duggar, how we doing?
Good. How you guys doing, huh?
I'm quite well. We understand the schedule lightened up the last 15 games, but LSU went 10-5 and did a good job. Are they playing a lot better, or is it just a product of the schedule being a little bit more navigable?
Probably both. I mean, there's probably a little bit of both there. I think there's some things starting to shore up in terms of, your 10, 11 guys you're going to see in the lineup, and obviously Jump and Holman have hit their stride here, especially Jump. I mean, he's probably been the best pitcher in the SEC the last 4 weeks or so. But, so I think it's probably a little bit of both, but there's momentum. And you know as well as anyone, getting into the postseason, momentum's huge. And Mike Bianco showed that just a few years ago. And right now, LSU is in stride. Now, so is Georgia, and some other schools are also playing better than they were, let's say, 4 weeks ago. But that's the nature of the game. It's just a matter of how much momentum can continue to roll forward. Georgia's playing for just as much as LSU. At this point, LSU's playing this game to really, to feel really good about getting into a regional, whereas Georgia's trying to host. And it should be an exciting matchup. Of course, there's all kinds of storylines. But I think to answer your question, Hunt, it's a little bit of both. I think we're playing better because there's some more consistency, not only in the lineup, but some of the arms we're seeing are starting to be the same arms, such as Christian Little and Dutton and some of these ones that they seem to be ready to rely on. So I hope that answers your question, but I don't think it's either one way or another.
You mentioned Gage Jump. In the last 5 weeks, 31 innings, 8 earned runs. That's an ERA of 2.32 over a month and a week. Only 23 hits allowed, 39 strikeouts to 4 walks. What's been different with him the last 5 weeks?
The walks. 39 to 4. That's Paul Skeens' like strikeout to walk ratio. That's it, right? So when you have, so it's so hard to talk, throughout the baseball season, 40 games sitting up there, doing color. When you talk about the root of the game, because the root of the game is strikes, and usually the team that doesn't allow the base runner for free wins the most often. Usually the pitcher that throws the most strikes wins the most often. Actually, recently, for my son's older team, I bet one of the kids, listen, I bet you can't throw 12 first pitch strikes in this game, because I was kind of curious if you bet a snowball on it, what would happen. And, that kid got 15 outs. He threw 15 first pitch strikes, and 12 of the first pitch strikes made out. So, there's something to be said for getting ahead of hitters and putting them in a chance to where they have to be defensive. And Jump's done a great job of that. Holman, at the beginning of the season, and really even now, did an extraordinary job of that as well. He had a big strikeout to walk ratio. And I think that's the big key. When you start to see a guy filling that strike zone up and, quote unquote, trusting their stuff, that's when that guy's going to be the best that he can be.
Who do you think Jay Johnson's going to go to start the game tomorrow? Obviously, it's an awkward deal having to turn around and play a huge game on a Tuesday after a 3-game weekend.
That's a great question. I don't know if, has he ruled out Gage Jump?
He did not rule him out, no.
So, Jump's on what, 1 day less rest?
Well,
than he
2 than normal. It'd be 4 days rest. Usually you get 6.
Yeah, so he probably won't push it with Jump. He pulled Dutton early, only after an inning. Dutton did fine on Sunday. I think he likes Sammy out there to start off games because he knows he's at least going to throw strikes, right? And that's important to at least know what you're going to get. So your guess is quite honestly as good as my guess, but I don't really know who. And I haven't really done a lot of research, to be honest with you, on the matchup with Georgia, right? So I don't really know which sided pitcher, lefty or righty, actually matches up better. I'd have to know those answers first. But I think Dutton's a candidate. Cade Anderson's a candidate. Help me out. Give me a couple.
Christian Little, Griffin Herring, Cade Anderson, Sam Dutton. I think that's kind of where I would start.
Maybe Ackenhausen.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to be one of those type days, though, right? And that's great. I mean, we still have a chance. And how do you feel about the region? You feel like Tigers are in now?
Right now, I think they're in. Yeah. The D1 baseball guys agree. It's just a matter of there are 4 or 5 leagues where one of the teams is already going to get in. It's an at-large. If they don't win the conference tournament and you add another team, then you start taking teams off the bubble. And that's just something we won't know for the next 6 days until we know. So I think LSU is in good shape right now, but that can change if some teams start getting picked off in their conference tournaments and LSU loses on Tuesday.
Right. No, I feel the same. I feel like we're in, but it still could be. It would be a lot better with 1 more win. Of course, 2 more wins, you feel great.
Right now, I would feel great if they win tomorrow and you don't throw Holman and Jump. You guarantee both of those guys start 1 game in Hoover, and I like LSU's odds to win one of those. So even though one would be against Kentucky, I still think LSU would be in some pretty good shape. So yeah, if they can win tomorrow, I'll feel great.
Oh, I'm with you there now. I mean, having Jump against Kentucky, presumably having Jump against Kentucky would certainly put us in the best position we can be because again, not to repeat myself, against Jump, I don't know if he's been the best pitcher over the last 5 weeks in the SEC, but there haven't been many much better. Let's just put it like that,
Let's talk one more thing here before I let you go, and we appreciate some time here on this Monday. Charlie Condon is hitting .451 with 35 home runs. How would you handle him tomorrow?
So, Coach, when I played for Coach Vertman, there was a strategy for guys like that. It was a different pattern of pitches that we would call. So, for example, an 0-0 fastball away, if I miss off the plate for a ball. Right? Like, you're never really going to let that guy, especially in a one-game series, you're never really going to let that guy beat you and try to challenge him unless you have to, unless the bases are jammed or whatever. But he's that good, right? Like he's as good a college hitter as there's ever been, maybe, because he's doing all this damage with the BB core bat, and that's impressive, man.
Yeah, and everybody's throwing 97.
Yeah, his numbers were great last year too. So I mentioned this the other night on air about Tommy White, Travinsky, and White, Travinsky, and Jones. A lot was expected of those guys at the beginning of the year. Frankly, no one else had really proven themselves yet in the SEC. And hats off to those three, because they went out there when they had a bullseye on their back, a target on their back, and they still really produced. Same thing for Condon. Like, he was top 5, 6 in the league last year in just about every category. And to go out there as a dude and hit, he's going to get 40 home runs. 45 home runs, something like that. It depends on how long they play. But it's been a remarkable season for that guy for sure.
Doug, we appreciate some time. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Hunt. Y'all have a good day.
Doug Thompson, former Tiger right-hander, color analyst on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Our baseball breakdowns all season long, brought to you by Pluckers. One of the other guys you have to worry about, other than Charlie Condon, and we'll get to some Saints talk here in a second, Corey Collins is the other. You realize Charlie Condon's going to get pitched around a good bit, and he's got 50 walks in 53 games. Corey Collins has started 39 games, and he's got 50 walks. His on-base percentage is .586. That leads the Southeastern Conference. That's another bat there in that Georgia lineup that's really good. Anthony Dasher mentioned Slade Alford, whose name I remember from Mississippi State, and he's transferred over to Athens, and he's got 16 home runs on the season, hitting a shade under 300. So it's a very, very good offense. It's not a very, very good pitching staff, and LSU's going to have to swing the bats tomorrow if they want to get off to a good start and win in the opening round of the SEC baseball tournament. All right, step aside. We'll talk some Saints with John Hendricks. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years of redesigning bathrooms and closets. Look, a lot of folks locked in a really good interest rate a few years ago, not looking to move. But doesn't mean you can't improve your situation, right? You don't have to move to do that. Let David Duvall and his team come in, a free consultation to show you what they can do, understand what you need. Then you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sends you get $1,000 off of your project. It's a full-scale bathroom renovation. You don't have to call 4 different contractors to handle 4 different things. You call one. One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team come in. They handle it all. Maybe it's not a full-scale bathroom renovation remodel. Maybe it's just a tub-to-shower conversion. They do that kind of stuff all the time. They take out that tub that you never use, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Changes the look of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom, adds value to your home as well. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. Get $1,000 off of your project at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales service and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Join me and Jimmy out for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City, and we'll be right alongside LSU and Georgia in the first round of the SEC tournament. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's a Monday, and most of the sales team here at Guarantee Media is out on the golf course somewhere. And turns out a lot of the Saints are out on the golf course today as well. Saints Hall of Fame Golf Classic today. Out there was John Hendricks. He's the Saints lead writer and reporter for Saints News and also the host of Second and Saints. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. John, thanks for the time. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. Just recovering a little bit. You know, it's a little bit sunny and bright outside. So South Louisiana summer is right around the corner, and this is just a small taste.
It sure is. But hey, the golf course, not a terrible place to work for the day. I know you had an opportunity to visit with Dennis Allen, Mickey Loomis, Cesar Ruiz, Cam Jordan, all giving you some good stuff. I was curious about the Marshon Lattimore conversation. I know that's been a hot topic over the last month or so. What did you gather on the situation with the Saints and their top cornerback?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing is this is another positive step in the right direction. And so I think, you know, when I was at the league owners meeting in Florida a couple months ago, it kind of went from we haven't talked to the draft where it's like, okay, seems like, you know, he's a part of our team. I think it was the most concrete information we got about Lattimore for a bit. And then this is another positive step in the right direction, saying that, you know, he talked to him about 2 or 3 weeks ago and thought it was a positive conversation and that they're moving forward. And so I think that's really everything that we've understood. He was never going to get traded during the draft. It would never have made sense. And if you trade this guy, you know, even post-June, which could still happen, I would question what the direction of the team is going, because you need a Marshon Lattimore, you know, in your secondary. And look, if he's healthy, he's one of the best players on defense. He's number 2 behind DeMar Davis, in my opinion. So it's all heading in the right direction. We'll see at OTAs if he's actually there. It's his birthday today. I don't know, but Cam Jordan said it's about 90% attendance right now.
Let's talk a little bit about OTAs. I saw rookie minicamp that was last week, and you'll have OTAs coming up this week. What are the reports on Taliesin Fuanga as he makes his early impression on the Saints organization?
Yeah, look, I think he's everything as advertised. I think that's the biggest thing. And I know a lot of people got very concerned or read into it about him playing at left tackle. And the thing is, this is the plan all along. I mean, this goes back to what Dennis Allen said the night they drafted him, is that they were going to work him at left tackle as well as right tackle, then they know that he could play right tackle. And so, again, I think it's just a piece of information, and the Saints always cross-train all of their, offensive linemen anyways. And so I don't think you should read into it that Ryan Ramczyk is coming back and Trevor Penning's not going to be the starter. I just think it's trying to get all the pieces of the puzzle right and just trying to get some information out there. But look, Fuaga is a super big guy. I mean, I think Brian Baldinger said it best, that he's got anvil for hands. He's got that Polynesian power. I mean, all those types of things that you just love. And I think this is the guy that, I know I had mocked him after I was really high on J.C. Latham, but obviously he went earlier. But they got one of the best true right tackles in this draft. If he's not better than Latham, but I think it's in the eyes of the beholder.
From one side of the ball to the other, you spoke with Dennis Allen about Chase Young, signed him to a one-year deal. We know there are neck issues. What's the latest on Chase Young?
Yeah, look, as right now, I mean, things are going as expected. And again, the day after they signed him was the day that all that stuff came out about the neck procedure. And, it's from an injury previously, and the Saints are well aware about it. And so the biggest thing in talking to, Allen and Cam Jordan and everything is he's around. He's in the building. He's doing rehab. He's been on the field doing walkthroughs, just all the types of things that you would expect him to be. Mickey Loomis even talked about how enthusiastic he's been. He's not a guy that's coming in that's, just kind of olaying it or dipping his toe in the water like Mickey said. He's a guy that's coming in and has a chip on his shoulder. He's ready to prove something. And I think that's the guy that we hopefully can see this season. And I think that's a big deal because you look at some of the things that happened in the Super Bowl or in times before that maybe that he can be inconsistent, but I think he can be more of a dominant player and really give the Saints something that they've probably been missing for a good bit. And I'm excited to see how that all actually unfolds.
John Hendricks, our guest. You can follow him on Twitter at John J. Hendricks. All your Saints news right there. We're out at the Saints Hall of Fame golf tournament today. Cesar Ruiz was there, down about 10 pounds. Is there a little bit of different role for Cesar this year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is probably a little bit more athletic. Is where you say you lose 11 pounds, you can move a lot quicker. And so I think that's going to be big for this Clint Kubiak offense is that, it's going to be a run-heavy focus first. And the thing is, it's going to set up play action, which I think is going to lead screens. You're going to need a little bit more athleticism on the offensive line. And look, Ruiz has gotten a lot better over the years. And, I think fans were really on him for a while. And I understand that. And so he's had some good campaigns. He's been one of their most available offensive linemen, and so I think this is a big thing. And, I think the big takeaway in talking to Cesar was the fact that, obviously aside the eagerness to play, they got a new offensive line coach in John Benton. And the fact is everybody's been responding well to his teaching. And, I think he's a different style, obviously, than what they had before with Doug Marrone. And I don't think it's a bad thing just because you have to get Trevor Penning where he needs to go, and you really need to develop some of these offensive linemen. And, I think that's the biggest thing. You have to have the offensive line to make this offense work. I think they got a good bit of pieces, some question marks, but overall I think they're in a pretty good spot right now, and Cesar Ruiz is going to be a huge part of that.
Look, I think we all realize that practice in May is just that. It's practice in May. But is there anything that you're interested in observing with OTAs coming up this week?
Yeah, look, I mean, I had a lot of observations of rookie minicamp. I know people say, well, I think the biggest thing to remember is you can't gauge offensive linemen. You can't gauge really a defensive line, a pass rush. You're not going at contact. You're not doing a lot of things. You'll get more about the offensive line, defensive line at training camp. But, some of the things you can pick up on, like we noticed immediately, was Clint Kubiak, how authoritative he was, how active Andrew Donaco, the quarterback's coach, was, how practice had a better tempo in it. You look at how the new wide receivers coach Keith Williams, how he works and operates. And so I think the big thing for me is continuing to look at that offense and how things are operating, how they're installing this new offensive system under Clint Kubiak. And, the reception has been really good and positive so far. And so I think looking at OTAs, it's a good chance to see who's back in the building, who's not available. Ken Jordan said about 90%. I think there's obviously some injury, issues, and guys like Nephi Sewell tore his ACL late last year. shouldn't see him. We might see Chase Young in a limited capacity, but, and Cam Jordan himself, he's still not got the all clear from his ankle surgery, but he's trending in the right direction. So it's a time where, you can see who's there, and we'll get a few weeks of looks at the Saints before they go mandatory minicamp in mid-June, but it's a good chance to at least see some football, see Derek Carr throwing some passes, see the familiar faces, and then just kind of getting back to Saints tempo and rhythm.
Anybody surprise you with their golf swing today?
Well, I tell you what, Cesar Ruiz looked really good. I thought he was going to knock the stuffing out of that ball. I think that was some power. I don't want to say Happy Gilmore-esque, but that man's got some power behind his swing. And so, man, I don't know, but he's one that if I got him on the driving range, I'd be curious to see how far he could actually, drive that ball.
Got to get the TrackMan device out there and get all that data. John, we appreciate some time. Get out of the sun, and we'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
He's John Hendricks, Saints lead writer and reporter for Saints News. Also host of Second and Saints. You can follow him on Twitter at John J. Hendricks with an X, talking a little bit of black and gold. If you're looking for black and gold news, you can find it in one place. Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Hunt on Saints, our Saints YouTube channel. All of our Saints content archived there each and every day as it comes. Saints OTAs coming up this week. News cycle never stops in the National Football League, and it certainly hasn't over there in New Orleans. All right, we'll take one more time out, come back and close things up. It is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with the Bears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, recapping the final weekend of SEC baseball play and getting you set for LSU's Game 1 in Hoover. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It is the last week for Live After 5. Clock out and rock out with us Fridays. This Friday, May 24th in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series, 5 to 8 p.m. This season was filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second line parade. As I said, this last Friday, May 24th, come out to see the Michael Foster Project for the finale for Live After 5.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's one of my favorite weeks of the year, the SEC baseball tournament. I mean, 3 straight days of 4 baseball games in a row with quality teams. It's I've been twice to the event and enjoy that a lot, covering it, and then obviously love to watch it. And I'm loving LSU's game time tomorrow because it's at 9:30. You figure a 3-hour ball game, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. We come on at 1. We're basically a de facto post-game show there for baseball. So I'm digging this, and it's a big day tomorrow in the SEC tournament. You crank the stakes up when you make it single elimination. I think the fact that you have single elimination on Tuesday, double elimination on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then single elimination on Saturday and Sunday is a little hokey, but it is what it is, and it creates a lot of drama. You start with LSU and Georgia. Georgia's playing for a top 8. LSU's playing to get in. Then you have Alabama, South Carolina. I don't think Alabama's really on the bubble, but you could make the case they are. And South Carolina has lost 6 games in a row. They really probably don't want to lose 7 games in a row entering Selection Monday. Vanderbilt and Florida, very much on the bubble at 13 and 17, kind of trying to break a tie there as well. And then you got Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Mississippi State is playing to try to get a host site. They're right on the bubble there. And then Ole Miss is trying to keep their season alive. So literally every team that is playing tomorrow has something on the table. It's going to be a really, really interesting day of baseball tomorrow. Kind of giving my thoughts on LSU and Georgia. I'm not dealing with Charlie Condon tomorrow. I'm just not. It's one game. It's 4 at-bats. I'm going to take the bat out of his hands. I think Jay Johnson probably going to – if I had to guess who he's going to start, I would guess some combination – well, Dutton, Ackenhausen, and Little would be the 3 that come to mind. If I were Jay, I'd probably start Christian Little. But we'll see. He did not rule Gage jump out. I alluded to this earlier. I just don't think that he's going to put Gage jump out there after the most innings he's ever thrown in a baseball season in his life, coming off Tommy John surgery just a month and a half before his draft. I don't think he's going to do that. I know it's a huge game. I know LSU really wants to win this thing. I don't think they're bringing Gage jump back on 4 days rest. Yeah, he only threw 85 pitches. The rain came on Thursday, cut his start short, and maybe you could make the case that he'll be okay. I'm sure they'll consult some doctors and see how the metrics go. They've got recovery things that they can look at. But I don't think he's going to do that. So we'll just see. LSU and Georgia will crank up tomorrow at 9:30. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Plucker. Shout out to the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. I tell you this story each and every week because I think it's so true. And you can do business in any line with the mom and pop shop, and you're probably going to have great customer service, a great relationship. You pick up the phone and call, you're going to get a friendly voice, but maybe they don't have the capabilities to do what you need them to do because it's such a small operation. You can also do business with the big box stores, the big name brands where you're just a line item on it, and if you call, you might get an answering machine or something. Gulf Coast Office Products is the perfect blend of both of those. You're going to have a great relationship with your rep, whether it's Trey or anyone over there at Gulf Coast Office Products. They've got fantastic customer service. They can get you anywhere in the state of Louisiana, whether you're here in Baton Rouge, down in New Orleans, up in Shreveport. They can handle that as well. Plus, they've got a ton of capabilities and inventory. They've got $1 million ready to roll in inventory right here in their Baton Rouge office. So if you're looking for a printer, copier, scanner, hadn't thought about your printer, copier, scanner in a while, don't really know why you have the one that you have or how you ended up in that price point, let Trey Beal come in and help you. He can do that. And he's got clients in all vertical markets, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, legal, just like us at Guarantee. He handles our needs as well. They're fantastic people over there at Gulf Coast Office Products, and they do a great job. They bring you our Monday shows each and every week. GCOPnet.com is where you can find them. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here. Kim Mulkey announced today that Simone Augustus will be joining the LSU coaching staff this coming season. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take that.
I would too.
She's seen everything you can see in women's basketball. She certainly played in her share of Final Fours. She's been a world champion. She's played on Olympic teams. If you're talking about recruiting the best players in the country to LSU, she can tell that story. She was the best player in the country, and she went to LSU and had an unbelievable run, had a great professional career, has been awesome in the community here, and is a heck of a basketball mind. So I think it's a great move by Kim Mulkey to bring her on. No-brainer in my opinion.
Major League Baseball opened an investigation yet today into allegations that former Los Angeles Angels infielder David Fletcher, who we actually talked about last week, was the guy who's currently with the Braves and was throwing knuckleballs in AAA. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he may be in some trouble because he was gambling with an illegal bookie, specifically the illegal bookie that Shohei Ohtani's translator was using.
David.
MLB sources are telling ESPN this information.
David.
Take it or leave it.
I'm going to have to leave it. Just can't be doing it. Can't be doing it. That's crazy that David Fletcher managed to work himself into the take it or leave it segment in back-to-back weeks.
No kidding.
One for chucking knuckleballs in scoreless innings and one for illegally betting with bookies while you're playing a Major League Baseball. Just absolutely cannot have it. I've said this a million times and it's broken record, but it's the only relevant thing to say. Like, you can get over just about everything as a professional sport not gambling. If you lose the competitive integrity of the sport, you lose everything.
Well, so here's the interesting part. I think from what I've read, apparently Fletcher did not bet on MLB games.
Okay.
It's the problem that he was using an illegal bookie.
Yeah, shouldn't do that either.
No.
So it's just poor decision-making, David.
All right, last one here. Former Tiger and Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson has been in talks with the Vikings to get a contract extension, but was not spotted at the team's training facility today for the start of OTAs per team sources. Jets will hold out to be the highest paid receiver in the league. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I mean, that's as good a leverage spot as you're going to be in if you're Justin Jefferson. He has been absolutely sensational. And let's face it, like, you got a quarterback situation that was really, really steady. Say what you will about Kirk Cousins. He may not be a first-team All-Pro, didn't have any Super Bowl rings, but he's going to throw for a bajillion yards, and Justin Jefferson was certainly the biggest recipient of that. Now you bring in a situation where I can't even remember who they drafted. What rookie did they take?
That's a good question. We should definitely know that.
I should know that, but it's that season of football in my mind is gone. I'm in full RPI.
JJ McCarthy.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and hold out and get that huge contract, because I'm not really trusting. If Jim Harbaugh doesn't trust him to throw against Penn State, although he wasn't there, then I'm not certainly going to trust him with my millions and millions of dollars. Before JJ McCarthy ever takes a snap with Justin Jefferson out there, I'm holding out for a monster contract. You better believe that. Yeah, so like I said, I'm in full strength of schedule, RPI, KPI crunching mode. The NFL draft outside of Taliesin Fulanga and Kool-Aid McKinstry may as well not even happen for me at this point in the calendar. So, go ahead and hold out for that contract, Jets, because I don't want J.J. McCarthy to be the guy who's responsible for how many millions of dollars I'm going to get. So that's probably a wise decision. All right, I laid out everything at the top of the not at the top of the show. At the top of the show, I talked about LSU beating Ole Miss. At the second segment, I kind of laid out LSU's case relative to the bubble and the other four teams they tied with in the SEC. The D1 baseball guys put their Nerdcast together and put that out on YouTube and wherever you can find your podcast that suggests that they like all 5 SEC teams to get in right now. The issue is, as things progress this week, bids get stolen. And there are 4, 5, 6 conferences that potentially could be one-bid leagues that could have bids gobbled up if those teams that are already going to get in as that large don't win their conference tournament. So same song and dance we do every single year. Certainly don't want to be on the bubble at this point, but LSU finds itself right there. I think on the good side of the bubble right this very instant, but that is subject to change over the next 6 days. So it'll be a fascinating week, and it all starts tomorrow at 9:30 from the Hoover Met. If you want to listen to that game, you can do so on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Chris Blair will have the call. They'll have pregame cranking up at 9 o'clock. And like I said at the top of the segment, like we ought to come on just about when that thing goes final, and we'll kind of have a reaction and be a de facto post-game show for LSU and Georgia. A big one tomorrow. I don't believe it's a must-win for LSU. I think it'd be really nice if you did. So we'll see. Either way, I think LSU's going to have to score a lot of runs because I think there's going to be a lot of bullpen arms from two mediocre pitching staffs going out there tomorrow, and two offenses that have got some real star power. Just stay away from Charlie freaking Condon. We'll see. We'll be talking about it on tomorrow's show. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. All of our shows are archived there each and every day. You can also find it on your apps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and, of course, on YouTube. Appreciate the guests that came on in the second hour. Anthony Dasher covering Georgia, Doug Thompson talking Tigers, John Hendricks on the Saints. You want to catch that Saints segment, you can also do it on Hunt on Saints on YouTube. A lot of baseball talk in hour number one, a little bit of PGA talk as well. That course was a little too easy for a major championship, as Xander Schauffele well earned by going out there and shooting 21 under par. That's it for us. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show right here on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales service